sentimentality. And I wonder how you avoid that danger. Did you have conversations with the director? Did you rehearse a lot?
Good evening. and thank you for coming out to see our movie some months after it first aired. It's great to see an audience 6 months after the event who are interested in seeing it again or for the first time. And I wish that Hugh and James Mangold, our director, were here because you would enjoy their company very much. As it is, you have me. I'm delighted. I'm delighted to be here. And of course, I also wish that you could have the pleasure and thrill of meeting Daphne Keane, because she is something quite extraordinary. Yes, the director and I talked before I saw a line of script, and I had worked with James very briefly in the past, and he set me up for the fact that I should put aside all memory that I had of what shooting X-Men movies had been like, because he was determined that there was going to be something different about Logan. And although I think he was nameless at that time. And Hugh was already on board, and over the, believe it or not, 17 years we have been making X-Men and Wolverine. He has become a dear, dear friend. So we, James and Hugh and myself, became very much involved with protecting the style of the movie, because it was going to be untypical of superhero movies, and certainly in the standard that X-Men and Wolverine had established. But in James Mangold, we had a director who not only had a clear and very potent vision of what he wanted Logan to be like. He is also that rare creature, and it is a little rare, a director who could know exactly what he wanted, and yet when the camera rolled, he was happy to set the actors free. That we were liberated, in fact, in some respects, more liberated than if he had not been a man with such a vision of what he wanted. And every day that we filmed, the opening scene, the long scene between Hugh and myself in the tank, I think 2.5 days we were on that scene, and then some little reshoots later. Very quickly, James tuned into certainly the approach that I felt I should take, which was one of kind of wacky irreverence to begin with, then turning into something much more serious and desperate. And he would say, what you did there and there, do more of that, because that's working really well. So it was a collaboration with a very open-minded, generous man with a vision.
When you're preparing for a role like that, how do you prepare? I was fascinated that copy said that you spoke before you saw the script. Then when you get the script, how do you prepare? You said something the other day which I thought was fascinating about what you learned at the Bristol Old Vic Theatre School in going through a text. And that was extraordinary. Maybe you can tell the audience that and tell us how you apply that to a film.
Yes, I would love to. That was a very long explanation of the analysis that the director of my acting school, Bristol Vic Theatre School, and his name was Duncan Ross, who went on to have a great career in the United States. He ran the Seattle Rep for many years. He had devised, largely based on the work Stanislavski, the Russian director and teacher, of reading a script. He taught us how to read and how to analyze and examine a script so that we took from it all of the essence of what a writer had intended. And it was, I will shorten the version I told for you the other night because we had very much longer. But you would read the play multiple times, but each time for just one reason. So the first time you would read it for time. When is this story happening? What century, what year, what time of year, what day, what hour, what minute? So that you would put together, and this is not through reading stage directions and not through knowing when the play was written, but just reading the language of the dialogue. Then you would read it again for place. Where does it happen? Exactly where does it happen? And then rather eccentrically, we would read it for weather. Bill Ross felt that the weather always had a big impact on all of us. And so we would read for climate conditions. And then another read, that's three, a fourth read, what does the character say? And all this led to pages and pages of notes, all of which, all my notebooks, I found less than a month ago. And my life consists of unopened boxes because I moved around so much. And I opened this box and there they were, all my notebooks from 1957, 1958. We would then read it for what does the character you are playing say about himself? Write everything down. What do other people say about him? This is another read, when he is present. What do people say about him when he is absent? And as a result of all those readings, you would build a sense of what the play and the role contained. But over the process of reading, it became internalized, so that you were literally absorbing the play. Very often I found at that time, I never actually had to sit down and learn the play, because I'd already learned it through these multiple readings, at least learn the role. So that lay behind, but he also said to us at the time, a point will come in your careers, if you're lucky and you're working, you won't do this. You won't need to do it because you will do it instinctively. And that's exactly what has happened. But I've always been fascinated by one aspect. I had no education. I left school at 15. Not because I dropped out, but because my education was over. So I grew up non-academic. But I became fascinated by the research that could lie behind certain roles. There's barely a play that doesn't require you to study something different. And I've always enjoyed that, be it attending at very close quarters a full post-mortem, which I did once for a character who was himself an anatomist, and sitting in Joseph Conrad's chair, where he wrote most of his films. There are certain privileges that can attach themselves to being a well-known actor. People will let you do things that the general public are not allowed to do. To say, we're about to do a post-mortem, would you like to be a witness?
So when you go through this script, do you make notes on it? Do you read it multiple times?
I do read and read, especially if it's brand new, yeah. But even something that is very familiar, there are certain roles I played that I played several times in different productions because I wasn't done with them. And it's one of the great things about the theatre, and especially if you do classical work, that you can return, not just to the writer, but to the character again and again and again. And in this case, I had been down this road that Charles is going down several times in the last 15 years, 20 years that I've done, studying aging, Alzheimer's, physical and mental deterioration, that can attach itself to the elderly, deterioration due to drugs, deterioration due to alcohol. Those are some of the roles that I've played. Not glamorous and certainly not funny. I enjoy that process immensely, then bringing that back in front of the camera.
Were you hesitant to take this role again? Or I think, is it the seventh time?
Yeah, this was, I think, my seventh appearance as Charles. One of them was very, very brief. And of course, I was vaporized by Jean Grey, which was very uncomfortable. I don't recommend it. It was actually. What they did to me was, yeah, they set up a blaster because they wanted my face to be subject to the stuff that Jean Grey was pounding at me, and so they set up a huge nozzle at the end of I don't know how they did it, some generator that was generating strong wind, and they held the nozzle about this far away from my face while the camera did a close-up. So my face was doing this, and I remember the director saying to me, "Open your eyes! Don't close your eyes!" Unpleasant. However, not only did I not die, but I actually came back to life in that movie. And then at the end of, I think, Days of Future Past, you saw the first moments of Magneto and Charles Xavier and the body of Logan being devoured by creatures. But obviously it turned out happily, because here we still, well, some of us, meaning Hugh and myself, are the only ones who are left.
Last one for you, right?
Well, I had no thought of that. I was aware Hugh was on record of having said, "This will be my last appearance as Wolverine." I saw no reason to make a statement like that. I was still enjoying the role, and you know, we have new people coming in all the time, and terrific people, including young and very gorgeous James McAvoy, who plays the young man. I told him it's the most flattering thing that's ever happened when James was cast as the young Charles. And yet something happened, and it all came to a head at the Berlin Film Festival, where I think you and I saw the film for the first time with an audience, not just a screening room, but a big theatre. And Hugh and I were sitting side by side, and James Mangold was on the other side of Hugh, and Sunny, my wife, was sitting on my right-hand side. And I, as I had just now, actually, from the projection room, I watched the last 20 minutes of the movie, and everything that I felt in that Berlin cinema, I felt again just now, how very emotional it made me feel. And I was, there were tears in my eyes, but I didn't, want to show any of this. And then I saw Hugh's hand come up and go. And I thought, damn it, if Hugh Jackman can wipe away a tear, then so can I. And shortly after that, around the scene when he and Laura have Daphne Keane are having their final conversation, I felt a hand reach over and take mine, and it was Hugh's hand. And he squeezed my hand, and we held hands for the rest of the movie, including all the way through the credits. But the credits here are so long as they are with movies like this, that as we sat there holding hands, I thought there can be no better way to say au revoir to this franchise than what I've just witnessed for the last 2.25 hours. I love Charles's role in this movie, and he ends badly, but not unhappily. He ends in the arms of the man that he's cared for all of these years. And I thought, yep, I'm going to join Hugh. And the next morning there was a press conference after the movie, I was asked about this, and